So then we are back with more understandings from the time of the Second Tabernacle services, where we find in the Aramaic English translation of the word. This translation comes from the original manuscripts of the prophets of the Israelic lineage. So then we can understand the time of the end as per Yirmiyahu the prophet. Then we find ourselves during the time of the restoration, so we can line up and make sure we understand a couple of layers of the 61st chapter of Yirmiyahu related with the time of the restoration and time of reduction from the first recording of the spring feast, Matityahu the Levite. So then let's understand what we are at as far as the economy. Previously then we spoke of the economy and the requirement of having obviously our economy related with the freighting. So it's very important understanding why. Let's start with the most important at the moment, IMF report. Every nation in this planet, they do understand IMF and the reportings of IMF. It is extremely important. 2 years ago they said if we print out money indiscriminately, then it would last for 5 years the very most. Somewhere along those lines you find this precise understanding. It's related with our industry. Obviously we are not producing enough, and then printing out more money generates later an imbalance in our economy. Any person can understand this. So then, as far as what's coming in the future, obviously the simplicity of the system is going to dictate then the course of action. These days our economies are extremely complicated because the midman always trying to find a way to maintain the system confused. Let's understand in the near future the simplicity of the system. When we understand the economy related with IMF report, we have 36 months to line up our economy as per the report of IMF. So then, what we must do without a shadow of a doubt is then having a visit with the freighters of this country, and then ask and request them if then the federal government could make a system related with their tracking. So then each individual purchasing items from abroad or domestic speaking should then pay taxes instantly. It's no longer then the companies, because when the companies they order the products, they get taxed, but they get taxed a certain amount. When they place the items retail, then they have to pay tax again, obviously, because has taxed both times, when the item is purchased and then when the item is sold. But obviously then the government would make a calculation of the item, because some companies are conscientious of no charging more than 100% of what they purchase. Some companies, they are scoundrels by nature. They can get a product for 5. If they can have it for sale for 100, they do it. So we must understand the control of this discrepancy. When the government charges the company a certain amount for the product, they charge a certain amount. If the company, they have the same description and they have the product for sale, and they have 5 times more the price, the government gets its share. Because the responsibility then lies with 100% or 200% or more until 5 or more than that. So then the companies, for instance, buying a product for 10 and they get sold for 100, then the government gets its share per the value of the product. So then the simplicity of the system. Then when the Chinese system comes in the shortly 36 months, then people are going to invest in the system. Try to understand, it is a foreign system, similar as eBay. Let's say if eBay was not in the United States. Let's say if it was abroad. But then you can download the system in your computer and you can link up with a PayPal. Let's say PayPal was not from US. Let's say you consider PayPal as the Bank of China. So you purchase to do your dealings, and then you also have an icon of investment. But rather than having names of companies, the middleman, you directly invest in the product. So let's say you have then a circuit breaker of a certain brand that you think then nations, because they are coming out of poverty, they would buy lots of them. Now you invest a certain amount in this product. At the end of the month you get your share. Not very big, but when you multiply these by 100,000, 900,000 other products, then you get a nice share of it. And then as you earn through investments, then this amount is in your own confidential system. The government can't read it, because it's a violation of the right of the individual. It is protected. Since it is linked up with the Bank of China, you are dealing with another kind of money system. So then you can invest and you can earn from another money system. So the government can't charge you tax for it. You can have 12, 24 digits in the system, but then you can't show it. Obviously you won't. So then the only option for the government is then taxing when the label is printed. That's the only way of doing it. So anywhere in the world when there is a label printed of a certain company with your name on it, then you have the description, you have the price and taxation instantly. Let's say you get for 5, or then let's say you get for 10, to make it easier. And you have an idea of have it sold for 100. You get charged the tax when you have it for 10, and you get charged then tax when you get it sold. Because we can't have the profit for ourselves. If we get for 10 and sold for 100, the government must receive its share based upon 100, not only 10. So then the simplicity of the system. When then the freighters, they begin to line up with the government, obviously the government, the next 36 months, wants to stabilize our economy and becoming a worthy subsystem. Obviously. But then the simplicity, what is it? The next step then? Obviously we have to understand then what is required, for instance, for a person to start up a freighting company. You can be sure of it, lots of them are going to start to pop up. So you can expect the updating of ports, obviously, airports, refineries, Because then the retailers, as we understand, because of the new system coming, the retailers are going to be out of work. Because of the simplicity of the system yet coming. You purchase your product, you get your parcel at your home, but then you pay, for instance, half of the price, but then you get sometimes for freight at no charge. You are no longer going to the store over there and pay your item for 20. So it generates lack of work of the retail, but then compensates in freight. And imagine the thousands upon thousands of retailers in our country, then they find themselves no customers because they are buying online. And for instance, when you purchase from China, there are many companies dealing with their products, they don't even charge you for freight. So imagine then when the volume of freight then doubles, triples, quadruples in a very short time. Then we must understand, boy, what is it going to be of our airports? What about the ports, the docks? Because with the same rate then the retailers go out of work, the same rate then you have parcels coming in. It's not truly changing 6 for a half a dozen, but is similar. Because rather than a store making only a purchase, comes in a big, huge container, then you have each individual as a store. So truly it is a bit concerning. So then the simplicity of the system, what would be then required? Obviously the updating of the ports. If we could construct a drive-through system where ships could go through and then using the water level as the elevator system of the ships, unloading and loading very quickly. Or then using the regular docking but then extending then the port further because the number of ships coming is absolutely, in quote, astronomical. And then preparing ourselves for the future. Not only this, but then there is a section on the instructions where we find then Daniel the 11th chapter and the relationship of the kingdom of the north and south, and then obviously the east protected. So lots of changes coming very quickly. We must be prepared for these changes coming. We may not observe these changes because we, the citizens, we are not aware of the huge discrepancy of debt. So when the system then, when it is integrated, and then the freighters in line with the government, then the government can earn its share of taxes. Because either if you are an individual or if you are then managing a store, you get charged the double tax. Initial tax when you get the product, and then when you get it sold, you are taxed again. But then obviously when you are having the product for sale, then you have to obviously use the tax that you paid for, and you use a markup. Then you get charged tax again. Because if you decide to do 500% markup, then the government gets its share based upon 500%. So let's truly believe and hope that our government can come up with a deal with the freighters and starting working in the system ASAP, as fast as they can. Because there are products coming to this country and the government is not receiving then a dime of tax. There are thousands and thousands and thousands upon thousands of dealings coming to this country, and there is absolutely no taxation. And those products, in initial phase, not being taxed, they get for cheap, they get a huge markup, and the government doesn't even know how much they paid for the product because the product came in without taxation. So it's a situation when you charge 8% of the product sold. If a person gets the product for 10 and for sale at 200, you charge 8% tax, but what was the initial cost? So the government does not make much money in it. Thus then, the subsystems, they must be delineated, so then the government can start earning some money and balance our debts. So then when a person gets the product for 10, the government then taxes, then comes the product, then it is then marked up, gets sold, then the government again charges taxes. Must be twice. So then, do we truly love our country? If we do, then we have to hold back our expenses. Does it, let's say for instance, makes it any sense for us then to go around trying to hunt down scoundrels and then not taking care of our economy, and we say ourselves patriots? It's understandable. People are very angry with this scoundrel over there that exploded those farts over there in Boston. Understandable. One person is dead and the other is more than likely going to Mexico. And it would be the best for him to get in a car and go over there to the border of Mexico and be gone. At least we don't have to pay for this person to stay in prison. It's a form of loving our country. Understandable. There are people that were hurt, they want justice. The best justice a person can ever give is going out of this country. Because if the scoundrel goes to a penitentiary, then a person has a place to stay, a person has then what to eat, a person has medical, dental. It's a hotel. And we think this is being justice when a person does not even work. If it wasn't that place over there in the southern part of the U.S. where there is a person over there is in charge of a prison that makes the prisoners work, then it kind of would make sense. But then they catch the scoundrel, throw it in a hotel. Secure the hotel. So my opinion is this person should get in a car, go over there to the Mexican border and be gone. Never return. So then, reading from the instructions, we find then the kingdom of the east, north, and south. We understand that it is an engine starting from this system and then later becomes available for every person. But then we must do our homework. We can't print out more money indiscriminately without the control of our economy. With the same tenacity, then the government is going around trying to catch the scoundrel over there. Should be twice, if not more, as far as maintaining in control our economy. So let's try to think with balance and understand, do we truly love our country? Are we truly patriots?